Good day to everyone. My name is Mylene Lovelyn TUMAMAK, and we are going to talk about infinitives and participles. So let's start. Okay, so in this lesson, we are going to familiarize ourselves with first one, infinitives, second, gerunds and present participles. Third is past participles, and number four is the irregular past participle. So these are the lessons or the topics that we are going to talk about for today's video. But before anything else, let us first have a game show. So we will call it Verb Game Show or Verbs Game Show. So all you need to do is to tell me what form of verb the word that I'm going to show you later on should be. So I will give you some sentences with missing word or words. So you just have to say the correct form of verbs to make the sentence complete. Am I clear?
Yes,
Yes
ma'am.
po.
Okay, so let's start. So our verb is the word dance. Okay, so we have the word dance. So all you need to do is to change the form of the verb dance into something or into other, or let's say you can add some letters or some words to make the missing sentences grammatically complete. So let's start. The first sentence is I can blank. What is the missing word? I can blank. Lamy,
Dance. I
dance.
can dance.
Okay. I can dance. Next. I enjoy blank. I enjoy blank. Wrestling.
I enjoy dancing.
Okay. I enjoy dancing. Next. I would like blank. I would like Lainey.
I would like to dance.
Okay. I would like to dance. Next. I must blank. I must wrestling.
I must dance.
I must dance. Okay. Next. I intend blank. I intend blank. Lainey.
I intend to dance po.
Okay, I intend to dance. And next, I can't help blank. I can't help wrestling,
I can't help dancing.
dancing. Okay, I can't help dancing. So let's see. Okay, so these are the answers. I can dance. I enjoy dancing. I would like to dance. I must dance. I intend to dance. I can't help dancing. Okay, so from these sentences, what do you observe? How do we form the word dance from the in these sentences? What can you observe? Lainey.
We sometimes use the word dance itself, but sometimes we add to in the beginning of the word or ing in the end of the word.
Okay, so there's um there's a sentence where we just used the word dance itself without changing anything. But also sometimes we added ing at the end of the word dance. But before we added ing, we removed the letter e first, right? So before we added ing, we removed the letter e and changed it into I and then ng. Dancing. Okay, so that's the second one. And then the third one is we added the word to at the beginning of our verb. So we have to dance. So we have dance, dancing, and to dance. Do you guys know what do we call these words whenever we add ing or to at the beginning of the word? Do you guys have any idea what do we call these kinds of words or kinds of verbs? Do you have any idea, Reseline?
I have po, but I'm not sure po. I think it's gerund.
Gerund, okay. How about the other one? Gerund and Lainey?
Um, Infinitives po.
Infinitives. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so you're correct. So the first one is what we call infinitives. Okay, so just like what you did, we added the word to before the verb. So for example here, we have the word full, or I mean, we sometimes call this full or to infinitive. So when we added the word to before our verb or before the word, we call it full or to infinitive. But how about if we don't have the word to at the beginning of our verb? We only call that simple form or bare infinitive. So again, we have two types of infinitives. The first one is the full or to infinitive, and the second one is the simple form or bare infinitive. Okay. Now, the other kind of verb is what we call gerunds. So you are correct, Marceline. We call that gerunds. But also, we can call it present participle. So gerunds and present participle are formed the same. So how can we say that? When we saw a verb that ends with ing, we call it gerunds and present participle. Yes, they we can form it the same by using ing at the end, but it is formed, or I mean its functions are different from each other. So let's try to observe these sentences. So first let us guess. Can you guess which are gerunds and which are the present participles? So tell me whether the following sentences are gerunds or present participles. It's all right if you it's okay if you answered it incorrect incorrectly, but of course do your best. So number 1, asking questions is easier than answering them. So we have the word asking. The word asking is a gerund or a present participle. What do you think? Lainey?
Gerund po.
Gerund, okay. So let's see later. How about number 2? We are fighting a losing battle. Wrestling,
Present participles po.
present participle. Okay. How about number 3? It is freezing cold. Lainey,
Present participle also, ma'am.
present participle as well. Okay. How about number 4? We are confident of winning the election. Okay, Wrestling,
Gerund po.
gerund. Okay. How about number 5? The boy cried thinking that he would be whipped. Lainey,
Gerund po.
gerund, okay. How about number 6? Can you teach me painting? Wrestling,
Gerund po.
gerund, okay. So let's see. Number 1, your answer is gerund. Number 2, your answer is present participle. Number three is a present participle. Number four is a gerund. And number five and number six are gerund as well. So let's see if your answers are correct. Okay, so let's check. Asking, the word asking is a gerund, so you guys got that correctly. Number two is a present participle, correct. Number three is a participle as well. Number four is a gerund, okay. Number five, the word thinking is a present participle, okay. So the word thinking here is used as a gerund, or I mean as a present participle, not as a gerund, okay. And lastly, our word or the word painting is a gerund, okay. So based on these sentences and also from the answers here, what do you think is the function of a gerund that differs from a present participle? What can you infer from these sentences, from these examples? Reseline.
I think gerund serve as to refer something po. Parang nagre-refer siya sa team or like it acts like a subject po. Like a noun po even though it is a verb. On the other hand naman po, participle naman act like it's a real verb po. It serves to refer the action in the sentence po.
Okay, that's correct. So in these sentences, we can infer that gerunds differs from participle because gerunds acts as the noun in the sentence, while present participle we use as auxiliary verb. So what are the auxiliary verbs? Can you give me an example of an auxiliary verb, Lainey?
R po, R.
Are. Okay, what else? Another example. Are. What else do we have? Are you raising your hand, Rosaline?
Yes po.
Okay, so what are the other auxiliary verbs that we have?
Is
Is. Okay. So we have are, is, also we have have, had, has, um, and many other auxiliary verbs. So we have many auxiliary verbs that we use in the English language. Okay. So again, let's try to look at this first sentence that we had earlier. So we have the word asking. Asking questions is easier than answering them. So we said that this sentence or the word asking is a kind of a gerund, not a present participle. So according to Reseline, gerunds are used as noun or the subject of the sentence. So we have asking questions is easier than answering them. So in Filipino, mas madali pa yung magtanong kesa sumagot. Is that right? Do we agree with that? Asking questions is easier than answering them. So when we say asking questions, so in overall, in this sentence, we answer the word what. What is easier than answering? And then the answer is asking questions. So we have asking as a noun, not as a verb. Okay, so gerunds are verbs that are used as nouns. They are sometimes known as verbal nouns. So whenever you see a verb that ends with ing and is used as noun in a sentence, we call them verbal nouns. Okay, so next we have the participle or the present participle. We are fighting a losing battle. Okay, so can you please tell me why do you think this sentence is a present participle or the word fighting is a present participle, not a gerund? Why do you think we can say that this word, that the word fighting is a present participle? Reseline.
it has auxiliary verb po, which is the are.
The are. Okay, so we have the auxiliary verb are. So it is said that present participles are most used with auxiliary verbs to form continuous tenses. So for example, we are fighting a losing battle. So when we can see a verb that ends with ing and it is or it has an auxiliary verb before that verb, we can say that that verb is used as a present participle and not as a gerund. Okay, do you guys get it, our lesson? Do you understand?
Yes po.
Yes. Okay.
Yes
So let's
po.
proceed to the next one. Okay. So earlier we talked about infinitives, gerunds, and present participles. So now take a look at these sentences. We have the word listen, like, cry, and drop. At the other side of the presentation, we have still the word listen, but with the ed at the end. So we have listened, liked, cried, and dropped. So, what can you observe on the words that we have in this presentation? What have you observed from the differences of how the words were formed? Lainey.
Some words are adding are in some words we just need to add d. Sometimes it's ed, but there are words who need to double the last letter on their on the last letter, like the word drop. And when we have y as their last letter, we need to change it into I and add ed.
Okay. So sometimes we added ed at the end. Sometimes we just added d. On the word cry, we removed letter y and changed it into I before adding ed, or we changed the word or the letter y into ie before adding letter d. But in the word drop, we doubled the last letter, which is letter p, before adding ed. Okay, so in here we can say the word listen, like, cry, dropped, or drop. These are our base form of the verb, right? While on the other side, which are listened, liked, cried, dropped. These are words from our base form, but it has a different form. We added ed, d, ied, and then doubled the last letter before adding ed. What do you think do we call these types of words? The one with ed and d at the end. What do we call these verbs? If earlier we have present participles, how about this one? What do you think? Do you guys have any idea with um the name of the verb whenever it has ed or d at the end? Any ideas? Okay, looks like you guys. Oh, sorry for the dog. So, since no one is answering, okay, I will give you the answer. So whenever we add letter ed and d at the end, we call them past participles. So in this one, we just added ed, d at the end of the sentences, or I mean, at the end of the words to make it past participle. So it indicates the actions that are already done. But can you please tell me, why do you think with the word cry? Why do you think we need to remove letter Y at the end before adding ed or d at the end? Lainey.
I don't really know the exact reason po, but I think it's a general rule in order to form the past tense of every verb that ends with Y and has a consonant letter before it.
Okay, so if a word or if a verb ends with letter Y, it's like a rule that we need to change or remove letter Y before adding D at the end. So before converting a verb into a past participle, whenever it has letter Y at the end of that word, we need to change it into I, E, and then letter D. But how about in the word drop? Why do we need to um double the last letter first before adding ed at the end? Why do you think we need to double letter P first before adding ed at the end to make it past participle? Rosaline.
I think po it is the nature of the word because po of the syllable stress. It depends po sa syllable. It's either unstress or stress po.
Okay,
I'm not
so
sure po but if stress po yata tinador.
if it is stressed, we need to double the last letter. Okay, that's the other reason. But the other one is if let's say the letter before the last letter of the word is a vowel, and then the last letter is a consonant, which is letter P, and then it is stressed, we need to double the last letter first before adding ed at the end. So just like the word drop, we have letter O, which is a vowel, and then letter P, a consonant. We doubled letter P, DROPPED when we change it into a past participle. Okay, so that's the first one. How about this one? We have the words begin, begun, find, found, say, said, write, and written. What have you observed in these words? Lainey.
The words change their spelling po.
We completely changed the words, right? It's like we added or we changed most of the letters before making or before converting the words into a past participle. So we have begin. We removed or we changed letter I into letter U first before we can call it a past participle. But it is still past participle. Begin, change it into past participle, it will be begun. Find, we change letter I and then we added OU. Found, FOUND. Say, we added I at the end before adding D. And then earlier, we said that if the, let's say, if the last letter of the word is letter Y, we need to change the word or the last letters like adding I first before adding D, right? So say became said, and then write became written. Written. Okay, so in the word right, we have or we doubled letter T. First, can you observe it? We doubled the letter T and then we added N at the end. So there you go. So begun, found, said, written. So let's have this one. So we call them past participles. So whenever we add letter D, letters ed at the end, we call them past participles. But when we completely change the whole spelling, we added some letters, we removed some letters, we call them irregular past participles because we changed the whole spelling before converting it into a past participle. Do you guys understand?
Yes po.
Yes.
Yes
Okay.
po.
So let's have a recap. First, we have infinitives. Next is gerunds and present participles. And then now we had past participles and the irregular participles. Okay, so let me ask you again. What are the words or how do we form infinitives? How do we form infinitives? Or what is an infinitive? Do you guys remember? Hello, Rosaline?
I think po those infinitive, there is the word to po added to the base form or the simple form po of word.
Okay, so we added the word to at our base form or on our base word. Oh, okay. So next one is how about gerunds and present participles? What are gerunds and present participles? Lainey.
Gerunds are words that looks like verb pero they are used as noun po. While present participles are verbs that has words that have auxiliary verb before them.
Okay. So gerunds and present participles are um formed by adding ing at the end of the word. And lastly, how about the present participles? What is the purpose of um let's say converting a verb into past participle? And how do we form past participles? Anyone? Rosaline?
I think it is beneficial to use past participle po to clarify the action in the sentence po whether it is ongoing or it is on the past na po. Um, we can notice po that the past participles have ed in the end of the base form or the base form po is completely changed the spellings or it was added by some letters po.
Okay, so and also we studied when to add d or when to add ed, when to remove letters from the base words to form past participles. So I think that's it for this lesson. I hope you learned something and thank you and take care.